Hey there, this is Pete Erickson. I'm the founder of Modem and I'm the creator of Voice Summit. If you haven't visited the website yet, voicesummit.ai is where we'll be bringing together more than 5,000 people from around the world, more than 300 speakers, 250 sessions. And really, this is all about the voice first era, all the way from development to conversational design, marketing, and strategy. And if you're a developer out there, I really encourage you to check out this space. It's going to start moving really quickly. And folks have talked about previously monetization. And today we're going to get into that a little bit. We're going to talk to a couple that has a new business called Matchbox.io that has been quite successful in the Alexa skill store with their skill. And here I'm going to introduce Sarah Andrew Wilson. How you doing?
Good, how are you?
Great. And her husband, Joel Wilson. How are you?
Hi, good.
So tell us a little bit about Matchbox.io.
Well, we started in 2017, January of 2017, really just me playing around with Alexa and trying to get her to respond to me, right? Started writing some code. I was really interested in the data behind it. And it actually morphed into a voice-first gaming company. We started with Question of the Day, which is one of the top skills in the Alexa store. And we've been diving deep into that, offering subscription plans within the game. Going international, we just launched in Spain actually today. Spain, Mexico, and Spanish in the US.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah.
So as a couple, you play distinct roles in this business. So Sarah, tell us about your role at Matchbox.
Yeah, so I oversee all the content, and so I'm overseeing content strategy. I think Joel and I actually really complement each other in our own skill sets. We're both very creative and very analytical, but in very different ways. So Joel focuses all on what I consider the tech side of things, and then I focus on the content and the educational side of things.
Okay, interesting. So the skill is Question of the Day. Mm-hmm. How do people access that skill?
Yeah, so you say, Alexa, ask Question of the Day.
All right.
And you go from there.
And she's going to ask you a question. You're going to be able to answer it. And then tell me then a little bit about, because I think this is really cool, is the monetization piece, right? So one of the criticisms of developers is like, I'm not sure how to monetize this space, but there are ways in order to do it. Tell us about that journey from a free skill user flipping that into a subscriber.
Yeah, well, there are ways. And we did quite a bit of experimentation to kind of figure out how we could do that. And really our customers were telling us what to do. They were asking us, can I get more questions? Is there a leaderboard? Can we make this competitive? So we just wrapped all that around a subscription model. And now our users can subscribe and they get extra content, they get game packs, they participate on leaderboards. The leaderboards are regional, so you're competing against people within your state or maybe in your city, depending on how you do, and you can advance to a national leaderboard. So we really just listened to their input and made that our monetization strategy.
That's been the neatest thing to see happen is when you really pay attention to your users. And if one or two people ask you the same thing, you know there's like 20 people behind them that are thinking the same thing, but just haven't come out and asked about it. Or if people say, oh, this is great, but why don't you start doing this? And if you start listening enough and listening really clearly and start experimenting, like, what if we did something like that? And then do some A/B testing and really learn from what the users are saying. That's like, those are your...
Hear that? Listen to your users.
Yeah.
I think it's amazing advice. But I think what's really cool is you have listened. You now have a monetization strategy. So what is the subscription rate that you're charging? Are there different levels and stuff like that?
It's just a single level. It's first 7 days are free trial, and then $2.95 a month.
$2.95 a month. So if I opt in for the premium version of Question of the Day, then it just goes to my Amazon account and I'm...
All you have to do is say subscribe and you're signed up.
So kind of frictionless ability to turn from a free user into a subscriber. Right. And now you mentioned you've got leaderboards, and how long have you had the leaderboards out there?
We added that last summer, so it's been almost a year since we've had the leaderboards.
And are you noticing that your subscribers participate on the leaderboards and check on the leaderboards?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
People who are into leaderboards are really into leaderboards. And people who are into trivia are really into trivia.
Right.
So it's fascinating to see how just people really care about that. So we have to make sure all of our P's and Q's and I's are dotted and all that.
We get messages. I dropped 2 spots in the leaderboard, even though I got 2 questions correct. How did that happen?
Yeah.
So, yeah, they're really competitive.
Right. Oh, that's interesting. So, and you mentioned today that you launched in Spain. That's great news.
And Mexico too.
Okay, so Spain and Mexico, and both Spanish-speaking countries, but different versions of Spanish. The localization is a little bit interesting, right?
Right.
So tell us a little bit about localization, and maybe take an example of one of those countries, and what's that journey look like for developers out there?
Well, it's very difficult to develop a voice app in a language that you don't speak. So it is a challenge.
Right.
But I think the on the bright side of things, the analytics that we do in the US and in the UK, the retention, those factors are essentially the same. So if you have a certain retention number in the US, you can kind of expect to see it in the other countries as well. So we have some comfort knowing that people behave the same essentially across countries. The language is a challenge, but
so how many countries are you currently in?
It's 7.
7.
7 now.
Well, and then Spanish US, so you kind of count that as another one as well.
Oh, interesting. And for the subscriptions, because you're in different countries, does that work differently if I'm a developer with regards to the collection, taxes, all that stuff, or is that all just on the back end? You don't see it.
Yeah. So the subscription model is only in the US and the UK right now.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
Because of Amazon rolling that out, one country at a time. And I think it's in Germany and Japan as well, but we're not there.
Right.
But technically, it's actually very easy to do. It's just this, essentially the same code in another language.
Right.
I mean, the code is in another language.
Right.
The code is the same, but
Right.
you're just referencing another language.
Interesting. So, what would you say are some of the biggest surprises you've had on this journey in the voice first era and building skills versus apps?
I think it's been how easy it's been. I mean, it's been a lot of work, but for the 2 of us to be in 7 countries now, it's really incredible. The technology behind it is just awesome. AI is incredible. And the fact that we can implement such a solution and scale it so much with just the 2 of us is really fascinating.
I think that's a great testimonial when you say that your biggest surprise and one of your learnings is how accessible this is. So, I would encourage you, if you're a developer out there, to really jump in this space. The SDKs that are out there, the APIs that are available are really well done now. I think that hats off to the platforms. All the major platforms have done a great job thinking about developers and what they'll need. I had a recording earlier today with Terry Fisher from Alexa in Canada. We did a podcast together. And we'd asked each other, where are we going to be in a year? What's going to be the big thing that's going to happen next year? And I predicted that monetization is going to really take some monumental leaps and bring a lot more people into the space. So I'll turn the question to you as well. Over the next year, what do you see? Where do you see this space going, and where do you think the biggest leaps are going to come from?
I'm really curious what happens with cars. For one, that's just a large audience that I think will be coming on board here soon. Also interesting is what the other, we're on Alexa right now, but what the other platforms are doing. Amazon has been very supportive, extremely supportive of the development community. It'll be interesting to see if Samsung does the same, if Apple eventually does the same.
Where are you at with regards to some of the other platforms? Are you thinking about a Google Action or a Samsung Bixby capsule?
Yeah, well, we're thinking about it, but honestly, we've been so tied up in the Alexa space and monetizing there that we haven't invested much time into that just yet. But that's coming. Yeah.
I just want to add, in terms of like where things are going to be in a year or looking into the future, I'm really fascinated about the education space and the classroom space. Like, how can these platforms be used to help teachers be more effective in the classroom? Not just something where you have kids do this and the teacher gets a much needed 5-minute break while the kids are doing this over here, but how can it be incorporated into the classroom more? So that's I think that's a really big piece of the market that's to come.
Well, it's exciting times ahead. Congratulations on your success. Again, it's the question of the day. So Alexa, what's the question of the day? I think you've got yourself a pretty nice little domain there. Interesting. So I guess just before we go, you will be speaking at Voice Summit. Thank you so much for joining us. I think you're going to be on a panel about gaming.
Yeah.
Correct?
Yes.
Great. Well, we look forward to seeing you up in Newark and getting that conversation going. And maybe we'll get together a little gamers meetup or something like that at the conference. That could be fun.
Yeah.
That would be great.
And thank you so much again. This is Pete Erickson. Thank you so much for joining us. It's been fun talking with Sarah and Joel from Matchbox.io. Again, if you're a developer, definitely it's time to get into the space. The monetization models are here and they're only going to grow. The time to get in is now. I'm Pete Erickson, and we'll see you later.